Today, let's dive into a pretty radical idea, one that comes from the teachings of ShriPrashant. It's a concept that really makes you question the entire game we feel like we're forced to play. You know, the one with all the prizes and all the pressure. But what if the real point was something else entirely? What if it was all about having no trophies, just play?
You know, it all starts with a question I think most of us have asked ourselves in those quiet moments. Why are we always running, always chasing, always striving for something that feels like it's just out of reach? We're told it's because we need
to do more,
to become bare,
and to always be scrambling for whatever comes next.
And this relentless treadmill, well, that's what we're calling the constant chase. It's kind of the engine of modern life, isn't it? This drive to get bigger, to become better. And it's all fueled by this little whisper in the back of our minds that says, as I am, right now, I'm just not enough.
And this right here is where ShriPrashant's teaching cuts right to the core. Have we ever actually stopped and questioned that feeling? This fundamental belief that we're born incomplete, born lacking something, and that our entire life's work is just to fill some kind of endless void. So, where does this deep feeling of not enough even come from? Well, the answer is pretty startling. According to this teaching, it's not some personal flaw. It's a program, a script of insufficiency that's been installed in us, running our lives almost from the day we were born. And this program gets installed by pretty much everything around us. Our families, our education, the media, our entire culture. They all push the exact same story. Accumulate, secure, achieve. Only then, they tell us, will you be successful. Only then will you finally be whole. But what if that entire program is based on a lie? What if there's a totally different starting point, a perspective that just flips the whole script on its head, and it all begins with the power of completeness? I mean, really think about this. What if that feeling of being incomplete, the very thing that powers our constant chase, is based on a false premise? What if the entire foundation we've built our lives on is flawed, right from the very start? This brings us to the very heart of the teaching. ShriPrashant says, complete within, you are free to engage in energetic action without having a particular fruit in mind. Now notice this, the action doesn't stop. In fact, it becomes more free, more energetic, because it's no longer weighed down by this desperate need to prove yourself or to get something out of it.
So, this leads us to a whole new way of living, a new way of being. We can call it playing without needing. This is all about taking action, not from a place of lack, but from a place of fullness.
And this creates two totally different ways to live your life. On one side, you've got action that comes from feeling like you're not enough. The goal is always to get something, validation, security, a sense of worth. But on the other side, action comes from fullness, and the goal isn't some future reward. The reward is the sheer joy of doing the thing itself. When you start to operate from this place of inner fullness, the outside world starts to lose its power over you. The wins and losses, they become secondary. They just can't define your inner state of being anymore. You're finally free from them. This forces us to completely redefine what failure even is. Sure, things might not go the way you planned on the outside, but an inner failure, that can only happen when your sense of self, your very identity, is tied to the result. When you know you're already complete, inner failure becomes impossible. You are already whole. So if we're not chasing trophies, what are we even doing here? Well, this brings us to the final, really liberating metaphor for our lives. Seeing the world as a playground, where success gets redefined completely. Externally, hey, the world is probably going to keep defining you by your job, your bank balance, your reputation. That's the game it plays. But internally, the only rule that matters is to remain complete, to stay whole, untouched and undefined by any of those external things.
And this brings us to this beautiful, freeing conclusion from ShriPrashant's teaching. The world is a playground, good for merriment, but with no real trophies to be won. All those things we chase so desperately, they aren't the real prize. The real prize is the freedom to play the game itself with joy and with total intensity.
The invitation, then, is actually pretty simple and direct. Now that you know the trophies aren't real, now that you know you can't truly fail on the inside, go play, fearlessly. So, we'll leave you with the question to really sit with. If you truly believed, deep down, that you were already complete, that you couldn't really fail, what would you do differently? What game would you choose to play then?